Shruti Sharma?
Yes.
Yes, please take a seat. So, Shruti, tell the panel about yourself, your academic qualifications, your work experience, if any, and your main hobbies, very briefly.
Okay, sir. So my name is Shruti Sharma. I have been a student of history. I was born in Bijnor, educated in New Delhi. I completed my graduation from St. Stephen's College, and currently I've just started my post-graduation in sociology from Delhi School of Economics. And I am constantly like to learn new things and explore new cultures through language, food, books, and cinema. And I'd like to see myself as an optimist, sir.
With the Stephens, in your background, and with the Delhi School of Economics, both are so internationally known institutions. I do not know what you had in mind initially, but why civil services?
So there are a number of reasons why I want to pursue this profession. Firstly of all, sir, I believe that I have had a certain privileged background, and therefore I always wanted to do something in which I could give back to society in some way and bring about some sort of change in people around me and give other people an opportunity to have the sort of privileges that I have had, sir. Secondly, I believe, sir, that on a personal level, I believe the diversity and the scope that these services provide can be an avenue for great personal growth and an avenue for learning a lot, which it would provide me, sir.
Okay. So, Shruti, you are from Delhi. Now, how the safety of women, the perception about safety of women, has changed over the last, say, about 10 years, ever since Nirbhaya happened?
Yes, sir. So, the Nirbhaya incident was a turning point in terms of the global discussion that happened around Delhi regarding women's safety. So, in a sense, it was a turning point, and a very bad incident set the precedent for a lot of good steps that were taken post that time period. So, a number of steps have been taken since that time period by the union government and the Delhi government in that regard, ranging from the Nirbhaya Fund to certain steps by the Delhi government to increase CCTV coverage and reduce dark spaces, to also increasing scope for better mobility for women, be it in the space of women marshals in the buses at that point. So I think a certain progress has taken since that time period.
Presently, even if suppose in the case of, say, Punjab or J&K, right,
Yes.
where Hindus are in minority, but the actual minority status is given to those who are in majority. So a PIL is in Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
The center has asked Supreme Court to consider this, that we would like to give minority status to Hindus in those states which I have mentioned. Now, since I have already given you an idea, what are your views about it?
So, the Constitution of India does protect the status of minorities in India as a whole. And so I believe if for certain purposes and for certain positive reasons, the Supreme Court does decide to give minority status in a particular state to reduce atrocities against certain sections within the state, it can be a positive move.
Viren sir?
Question, I'll take it on. You see, the Supreme Court does it. Supreme Court in no way is in a position to stop atrocities. It will only adjudicate a matter in view of the constitutional scheme. What does the Constitution provide? So how do you think it would stop atrocities on minorities, religious minorities at that?
So if it can provide in the future a certain safeguards that the minority status can provide and certain special steps that can be taken for minorities in a particular state.
Can you give any example when Supreme Court has provided safeguards, laid down safeguards? You heard of Vishakha's case?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been a student of history?
Yes, sir.
Who do you think, whom would you rate as a foremost historian of the later Mughals period?
Um,
Who are later Mughals?
so I would say the the period after the so-called fall of the Mughals or the decline of the Mughals, so post Aurangzeb, so would possibly be regarded
So you
as the
think
later Mughals.
beyond Aurangzeb are the later Mughals?
Yes, sir. So which are not considered so high and mighty in the course of their achievements.
Okay. Recently, there has been a talk. Certain people feel that there is a need to review and rewrite India's history. What is your take on that?
So I personally believe that the writing and rewriting of history has been a continuous part and parcel of history since time and forever. And I believe rewriting of history is always a positive step. But at the same time, I believe this rewriting should be based on certain facts that history recognizes and the range of sources that history as a discipline recognizes. So if the rewriting is done in that regard, it can only lead to more positive debate and discussion in the long term.
What do you understand by Warsaw Pact?
So the Warsaw Pact was a pact signed in 1955 in the context of the Cold War, led by the Soviet Union. It was a security pact formed in the context of the formation of the NATO and an opposition to the NATO, sir.
I have another question from history, on history. Yes. What was Standstill Agreement?
Sir, I can't recollect at this point.
Okay. Have you heard the term soft power?
Yes, sir.
What does it imply?
So soft power is usually used in opposition to hard power, where hard power talks about a certain military might. Soft power, on the other hand, is the influence of culture and other aspects in increasing the might or the influence of a certain country or power over other powers. So cinema can also be one example of
any other illustration of soft power in context of India.
So India's cultural outreaches, for example, yoga and international and celebration of the International Yoga Day across the world can also be an example of India's soft power.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Shruti, you are from home district is Bijnor. So tell us something about Bijnor.
Sir, Bijnor is a district located in western UP, sir. The river Ganga flows through it. So it is a very fertile state. Sugarcane being one of the major crops of Bijnor, and therefore sugar mills and the sugar industry is also very well developed, with 5 of the most largest sugar mills located here. In terms of historical importance, the place Vidurkoti is associated with Bijnor. There are a number of prominent personalities from Bijnor, ranging from Vishal Bharadwaj in cinema to poets like Dushyant Kumar, to historical figures like Abul Fazl associated with Akbar, sir. So it is truly a very rich.
So, in your opinion, which is the very significant public policy initiative in the last couple of years by Government of India, which has done really, in your opinion, has done really well?
Sir, I think in the light of the COVID pandemic, the PM Ayushman Bharat Yojana has been very instrumental in expanding the public health infrastructure across the country and providing affordable healthcare to most sections of the population.
So in your hobbies, you have mentioned practicing yoga. So you do it every day or?
Sir, I try to.
Okay. So recently, one very important development has taken place with respect to traditional medicine. Are you aware? Last 1 week only, and quite something to do with WHO, the traditional medicines.
I'm sorry, sir.
Because we are establishing the first WHO center on traditional medicine. It has been approved. Okay.
So tell me, is an individual shaped by society?
Yes, sir. Sir, I do believe that an individual, right from his or her birth, is constantly shaped by the society he or she lives in.
Okay. Okay. What is your view on taxation on digital currency?
So this was a step that was taken in the context of the current budget, and where cryptocurrencies have come under taxation, sir. Sir, I think it is a good step in terms of bringing into ambit and increasing a source of revenue for the state for a reality that is increasing around the world, and so it is an area which was not under the ambit of state taxation. So I think it is a positive step that this area has been brought under taxation.
Okay. You do not seem to be very keen on joining police services. Any particular reason?
Sir, I would like to join any services where I have been provided an opportunity, sir. But since I was provided these options, as compared to the other services above it, I personally feel that I am temperamentally more suited for the other services, and I've talked to other friends, and it also involves arms training, and that I would personally be less comfortable with, but I would be overjoyed if I get to perform in the services, and I would do it to the best of my abilities.
Thank you. I pass on to Chairman, sir.
Shruti, we have asked quite a few questions
Yes.
so far. Any question any topic which we may not have covered, or some topic which may be of your choice, you would like to ask the last question from the subject of your choice.
The poetry is something that I
So
really
poetry, tell me which kind of poetry you recite or write, English, Hindi.
Sir, I like to read Hindi, English, as well as Urdu poetry, sir. But one of my favorite poets recently is Sarveshwar Dayal Saxena, sir.
So tell me, how have poetries helped in the India's freedom movement?
The poetry is a very potent tool in raising the motivation of people and raising the sentiments of people. So poetry has been a very important part of the freedom struggle as well. One immediate example that comes to my mind is Faiz Ahmad Faiz Subh Azadi, which was in association with the freedom struggle and the partition specifically.
So thank you, Shruti.